Hello, good morning. Welcome to the Soul Indulgence Show. I'm Lauren, and I want to talk about something so important. And this applies to anyone, and also specifically applies to people who are trying to make their lives better, trying to access that ideal of wanting to live a life that is fulfilling and meaningful and purposeful and happy. I feel like we all want this. And so many of us have been taught that we need to just learn to be happy with what we have. And one of the ways that this shows up for people is when we talk about positive thinking, right? And absolutely, what we think about can influence how we feel and how we act. And this is something that, we talk about in cognitive behavioral psychology. It's something that we talk about in manifesting and the law of attraction. And it is real, paying attention to how you speak to yourself, how that makes you feel, and then knowing that you actually do get choice around, what thoughts you're allowing in. And so I'm not trying to discount that at all, but I want to speak very specifically to this idea that positive thinking is a cure-all. Because actually what we know is that when we disconnect ourselves from part of our experience, that leaves us fragmented. That leaves us disintegrated. And that can actually be the root of disease and dysfunction and unhappiness in our lives. So those of you who've been following me for a while know that I'm a therapist turned coach. I've been in the therapy field for about a decade. I know from solid science, right, about the brain with trauma. We know that when people experience events that are too traumatic to hold, the brain will actually fragment off. It will hold these pieces separate from the rest. It disintegrates the whole as a very adaptive coping mechanism when we've experienced trauma. So, using that same philosophy, when we look at who we are as people and our emotional experiences, so often we hear that we're supposed to try to be happy. We're supposed to take our experiences that aren't happy and segment them out over here, right? And so learn to be satisfied, chin up, buttercup, put on a happy face. All of these things, right, that are focusing on the fact that what we want is we want to feel happiness, but sometimes the things we feel aren't happy. And so we try to shove them down, right? And that is the exact same mechanism, right, of fragmenting off parts of ourselves. So if we are not tapped into the fullness of our experience, we are not tapped into all that our soul is trying to express to us, it is literally impossible to have true happiness. And what we end up with is a culture of people who are pretending to be happy. On the surface, they're smiling and being, positive, but inside they're hurting. Inside they're drowning. Inside, so many people, right? We have these just pervasive, the number of stories of people who are coping with their unhappy emotions by overeating or over drinking or online shopping or, you name it, whatever these little vices are that tend to that aching wound inside that's just saying, hello, I'm not happy. I've been watching Bridgerton, so let me know if you have been privy to this wondrous new show. But it's like this was happening not that long ago, right, in our history, where we were teaching women and men, right, to shove your emotions down, to just pretend to be happy, to do the right thing, say the right thing, look the right way, and that was somehow this formula to help you tap into your fulfilled, happy life. And we know that it doesn't work. And it doesn't work because you are literally only prioritizing part of your experience. You are not tapping into the fullness. And you, my friend, have emotions for a reason. You have emotional experiences to guide you. And absolutely, when you get to experience happiness or joy, especially when those are sustained, longer periods of being in that moment, you're going to feel amazing. You're going to feel uplifted and elated. But for most of us, we're not experiencing prolonged happiness because we're just popping back into our heads. We're popping back into our to-do list. We're popping back into the shoulds of what we think we're supposed to do in our life. And, right, that is then when we have discontent that comes up that tells us, I don't like my job. I don't like my partner. I don't like my life. We don't have a vehicle to say that because we've been taught that we're just supposed to pretend that we're happy. But what if that's all backwards? What if being unhappy, finding your discontent, actually was a portal? What if when your discontent spoke up, you listened and you said, yeah, there's something out of alignment here. There's something that just doesn't sit right. There's something that is telling me that there's something wrong here. And we listened and we said, okay, for some of us, like, all right, this relationship, kicking it to the curb. This is not for me. Or maybe it's more nuanced, right? Of like, gosh, I don't like the way that this conversation went, so I'm going to revisit it. Or I don't like the way that I've been feeling in this friendship lately, and so I'm going to give them an opportunity to know my truth and know like the vulnerable side of me. What if our discontent with our jobs inspired us to ask for a promotion or ask for a raise or leave that job, right? What if our discontent was actually there as a friend and not something that we needed to shy away from and not something that we needed to hide or obscure or, tuck down? We know now through quantum physics that we are all energy, right? And our emotions have different energetic frequencies. And so if you're feeling discontent about something and you shove it down, you're not making it go away. You're just letting it fester. So it doesn't change, whether that emotion is there or not. It just actually fragments you. It disconnects you. And then, enter in your vice of choice, right? To kind of help drown that feeling that doesn't feel good. But real happiness, real sustained life of joy and pleasure and fun happens only when we're all integrated. It happens only if we're willing to look at those parts of our lives and those parts of our emotional experiences that are telling us that something is off. And when we pay attention to that and we answer that helps our whole being move into alignment, right? It helps our whole being settle, right? It helps our whole being recognize that we were meant to be an expansive fullness expression of our soul. And so just honoring that does raise your vibration, right? Because it gets rid of that dissonance. Just honoring that alleviates your need for, drowning your sorrows, right? Just honoring that gives you a path. It gives you a guidance, right? Of like, here is this area of my life. And so I ask you now, what areas of your life are you discontent in? Are you happy in your relationships? Are you happy in your work? Are you happy, in the way that your life is, that your day-to-day, your finances or your health, right? If there's any area of that where you don't feel content, sit with it, befriend it, allow it to become your guide. So I will share just a little story that I live right now in Hood River, Oregon, and I picked this place because of a lot of reasons that checked off boxes, right? It's a smaller town, access to lots of natural areas, sweet little downtown area. Like there was a lot of these things that felt like it should make me happy. And we moved here in the pandemic. So obviously, you know, that's contributed to how many people that we've met. But it's not that. There's just something about this town that isn't right. It isn't me. And if I go into my spiritual space and I trust that I am guided, and I was guided here, and now I'm in this place where the fire risk is very significant, and I have small children, the thought to me of every year being afraid of a fire coming, and if we need to evacuate, like that stresses me out, and I don't want it. And it has awakened in me this desire to live on the water, on the ocean, and specifically Orcas Island. And I've decided, yes, I'm called here. And so many people, when I tell them that, they say, are you sure? Do you want to be on an island? You're so far, you're remote. What if something happens there? You know, there could be a tsunami. You have to rely on the ferry. All of these brain things, right? All of these logical components. But I know in my soul that it's right for me. But I only know that because I was willing to go and check it out. I only know that because I was willing to say, gosh, I just moved my family to this one place and I recognize it's not right. And even though it's good and it's really, really good for some people, it's not right for me. And I know that the absolute best gift that I can give my family, my children, my husband, my friends, my close relatives, my clients, the world, is me being happy. When I learn to follow the things that make me happy, when I learn to follow the things that lift me up, that is what changes the world. That is what allows me to be a bright light and inspire others to follow their lives. So I'm sharing this all with you today because it's on my heart, and it's been so on my heart that I've created a 4-day challenge that I'm going to launch not this week, next week. So just about a week, the 25th of January, I'm going to lead a challenge, a free 4-day uplifting Facebook event to help us escape mediocrity, to help us escape these confines of these shoulds and these obligations and these things that don't serve us, and help us become the legends that we want to be. And for me, that's to be a happiness trendsetter. And so throw it in the comments, shoot me a message, let me know if you want to join me in this challenge. I hope to have you there. We're going to have people from all over the world come together in this very sacred container for us to explore what is it that lights us up? What is it that our discontent can tell us about our life? What is it that can allow us to tap into the full radiance of our being? And I want that for me, and I want that for you. Take care. Bye now.